And a group of international donors at a conference in Kuwait is pledging more than $2 billion in aid to the Palestinian territory. A statement says the money will be spent this year and next on health, shelter, and what's being called life-saving interventions. The initiative comes as the Israeli military is sending troops and artillery back into the north of Gaza, weeks after saying the region had been cleared of Hamas fighters. This is video said to show soldiers engaged in street fighting. Tanks have also been rolling into the area. The apparent expansion of the operation comes as tens of thousands of people continue to flee a ground assault in the southern city of Rafah, which Israel continues to insist is essential. Journalist Sarah Coates is in Tel Aviv with the details.
What this really shows is even after 7 months of intense fighting on the ground inside Gaza, that Hamas still has capacity to operate in many areas right across the Strip. Now, an evacuation order was put out for some 150,000 residents in the Jabalia refugee camp late yesterday by the Israeli military, telling these people to move west of Gaza City, calling Jabalia a dangerous combat zone. Now, we've seen many pictures coming through today showing tanks surrounding this area with reports of heavy fighting on the ground. Now, in the south, down in the area of Rafah, we do know that the Israeli military operation has expanded there, with the United Nations saying that 300,000 people have now fled. They've been told to move to these so-called expanded humanitarian areas, but people on the ground say there is simply no safe place to go. Now, we also heard from the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking out to US media a little earlier today, really slamming Israel in a way for what is perceived as a lack of planning by the military. Let's take a listen.
We're seeing parts of Gaza that Israel has cleared of Hamas, where Hamas is coming back, right, including in the north, including in Khan Yunis. As we look at Rafah, they may go in and have some initial success, but potentially at an incredibly high cost to civilians, but one that is not durable, one that's not sustainable. And they will be left holding the bag on an enduring insurgency, because a lot of armed Hamas will be left, no matter what they do in Rafah. Or if they leave and get out of Gaza, as we believe they need to do, then you're going to have a vacuum, and a vacuum that's likely to be filled by chaos, by anarchy, and ultimately by Hamas again.
And as this fighting in Gaza intensifies, continues over the course of the day, a number of rocket alerts, air raid sirens have been ringing out in southern Israeli communities as Hamas continues to fire projectiles into the country.
And as all of this fighting continues, today is also Memorial Day in Israel, when the country remembers fallen soldiers, victims of terror. Of course, all happening in the shadow of October 7th and the attack and the war in Gaza. What's the mood like there today?
Extremely somber. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's attending a ceremony at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. And this is also being attended by the IDF Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi. He spoke out just a little while ago. He said that I bear responsibility for the fact that the military failed on October 7. Now, also a number of protests happening here in Israel today. Just a little earlier, when Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, his motorcade passed through Tel Aviv, a number of demonstrators tried to block those vehicles. They were holding up signs saying no hostages, no independence, and also deal now, while a number of the families of these some 130 Israeli captives that do remain inside Gaza, they are right now demonstrating outside the military headquarters in Tel Aviv. They are holding up placards saying, "Deal now, and we don't want more graves." So certainly a lot of pressure on the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu.
About 60 kilometers away from Sarah Coates in Tel Aviv is a new border crossing into northern Gaza. Israeli officials say it's been specifically set up in response to Washington's call for the delivery of more aid to Gaza. Dozens of trucks carrying flour were the first vehicles to pass through.